Hey everybody, what's going on? Jeff Blake here. Today we're taking a look at image slicing in Photoshop, and I'll throw in a little bit of Dreamweaver for you on the end of this tutorial as well. So, if you don't know what image slicing is in Photoshop, as you can see here, what I've done is I've created myself a layout, a web page layout here in Photoshop. Why would I do this? Well, maybe you don't want to mess around with code. Maybe you're just kind of getting into web design. You're more comfortable working visually, right? So you could lay something like this out on your own in Photoshop, I'm sure, or maybe Illustrator or even Fireworks or wherever you're comfortable, right? So you lay it out visually the way you want, and then what we're going to do literally is take the different parts of this image, like these different buttons and the logo and all this kind of stuff. We're going to chop our image into pieces. That's what image slicing is. Now, the icing on the cake, we're going to get Photoshop. When we save all this out, we're going to get Photoshop to write all the necessary background code for us, so we don't even have to look at code. So, if code makes you a little squeamish, the HTML, the CSS, no worries. We're going to get the software to do it all for us. All right, so how do you go about creating slices here in Photoshop? Well, there's a few different ways to pull this off. They give you a bunch of options to do this, right? All right, so the first way I'm going to show you how to create slices here in Photoshop is visually. Now, way over on the toolbar in Photoshop, you have a slice tool. Ever wondered what this guy does? He looks like a little X-Acto knife there. Grab him, pull him over top of your image, and then just start clicking and dragging slices over top of the buttons inside your layout. Maybe something like this. See how that works? Just drag them out there. No big deal. This reminds me, I don't know if it's the word slice or what, but I always think of pizza whenever I'm doing this. You know how you get those rectangular pizzas? Oh, it always makes me hungry whenever I'm doing this. Anyway, so you see what's happening here. I'm creating these little slices here. So every time I click and drag, I'm getting this little slice that's going to show up there for me. Now, there's a couple of different types of slices here in Photoshop. See this guy that I just dragged out here, for example? I just kind of threw him onto the screen there. This is called a user slice. I think they call them user slices or user-based slices or something like that. Anyway, so these user slices that I'm drawing out here, I can drag them around. I can resize them up if I want. You know, just pulling on the sides, you know, pulling on the top, pulling on the bottom, right? So those are user slices. And then, I don't know if you can see on the video or not, but wherever I haven't drawn slices, I'm getting these blue dashed lines here. These are called auto slices. And by the way, you'll notice as I'm dragging out slices, they're all getting numbered for me. Either the ones that I draw by hand, like this, or these little auto slices. There's slice number 20, slice number 19, 18, 21 down at the bottom. See how that works? So any area that I don't define as a slice gets created as an auto slice here in Photoshop. It's kind of wacky. You know what? To be quite honest, I don't even really bother much with auto slices. I'll get into how I slice layouts in just a few seconds, but I'm just making you aware of the basics here. That's how it works. All right, so what else can you do with these guys? Well, a few things. Over in the toolbox, underneath the slice tool, they have the select slice tool. And this guy, obviously, lets you select the slices that you've drawn. But I gotta be honest, I never use this tool. I'm gonna go back to my regular old slice tool. I never use the tool because if I want to, I can hold down the command key here on the Mac or the control key on the PC side and toggle that selection tool on. So I don't even really bother actually selecting them from the toolbox. So anyway, there you go, neat little trick. Alright, so there's how to draw out slices by hand. Now I've made a total mess out of my layout here. No worries though, I wanted to show you the basics. I'm going to clear out all my slices and start all over again simply by going to the View menu and all the way down to Clear Slices. Beauty. Alright, so there's the first kind of slice that you can work with here in Photoshop. Second kind of slice that you can work with is something called a layer-based slice. Notice over in my layers palette here, I've got two layers. There's my menu bar there, right up at the top. And the background layer simply contains the rest of my layout. So in other words, I went and flattened the whole thing so I don't have this stuff on separate layers. Oops. Oh well, no big deal. Now what I could do is I could take the contents of individual layers and define that contents as a separate slice. Now I gotta be honest, I never actually use this in the real world. I'm just showing you this just in case you want to use it. So what I would do is I would highlight, for example, my menu bar layer here, and then way up on the layer menu, look for New Layer Based Slice. He's just past halfway down the menu there. Choose that guy. And now I get a slice here. I hope you can see this on the video. There's a little goldish brown frame now around my menu bar layer. So the entire contents of this layer has now been defined as a slice. That's how that works. Okay? Now, the only way that I can edit this slice that I've created here is to actually edit the pixel content of the layer. So in other words, I couldn't like select this guy and like stretch him out like I could before. See, command clicking on him or control clicking on him doesn't actually do anything, right? But you know what I could do is I could use my free transform, command T or control T on the Windows side. Boop. Stretch out my layer, something like this, right? And as I do so, the size of that slice just expanded down there, right? Anyway, I'm just going to undo that. The other thing that you could do with a layer-based slice is right-click on them, and you'll see a little option there, Promote to User Slice. So I could actually convert a layer-based slice into a user slice, right? So that's kind of cool. So that makes it easier to actually manipulate these guys. So if you're using a lot of layers when you're building your layout, you might want to consider layer-based slices. Anyway, I'm going to go and clear out all of my slices once again. So back up to the View menu. Down to clear slices. There we are. There's one more way that you can create slices that I'll show you here, and then I'll get on to how I like to slice up images. The last thing that you can do, you know about your guides in Photoshop, I'm sure, right? I could drag out a bunch of guides, something like this. Drop a bunch of guides on my layout, and then you'll notice way up on your options bar there, slices from guides. Give that guy a click. Now, wherever I had a guide, I now have a slice line, right? And don't forget, all my slices are numbered for me. All right, good stuff. Once again, I'm going to clear all this out. Clear slices. I'm going to clear my guides as well. Good stuff. All right, so there's a quick run through on the different ways to create slices here in Photoshop. I hope you're digging this. I hope you're liking it so far. Now on to the good stuff, I gotta admit. This is how I slice apart images. I've been doing this for years and years. I find the other methods that I was showing you to not be very accurate, especially when you're drawing out slices by hand. How accurate is that, right? So I've been fiddling with this for quite a while. Here's the best method that I've been able to figure out for slicing apart an image. Check this out. I'm still on my slice tool over in the toolbox. I'm going to click and drag one single massive slice around the entire image. Follow me on this one, right? One massive slice. I'm going to right click on this guy or control click on the Mac down to divide slice, and I get this guy. See, I can actually take a slice and divide it into multiple slices. Now, obviously, here in the dialog box, I could divide vertically, but I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is divide horizontally. So I'll turn this guy on. How many slices do I want? Well, this takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of, there's a bit of a craft to this. Look at this layout, though, my little Apollo layout. Where do you see natural divides? I see a header across the top. I see a main area here in the center. I see a footer along the bottom, right? So what I find easiest is if you work from the general to the specific. I'll give you a better example of what I mean by that as we go along. So the general look of this layout is 3 main areas. So I'm going to divide by 3. Okay. And then I'm just going to grab these little handles here. And I'm going to drop these slice lines exactly where I want them. Something like that. Okay, looking good. Now, I'm going to stop things right there. We'll continue this in part 2 of our video series on image slicing here, so be sure to check that out. Also, be sure to check out the 10 Ton Books YouTube channel on youtube.com, and also don't forget to check out 10tonbooks.com. All right, I'll catch up with you in part 2.